Hello there. Welcome to our first learning session of Android Basics. Before we start, I would like to take time and introduce myself. I am Nandan and I will be your mentor for the Nenodegree. I am happy to have you here. I hope you are making an excellent progress with the course. In today's session, we have so many things to discuss as for the final goal for the session is to create a simple application which you can show to your friends and family. I assume you have already seen course outline. Still, let's see. Let's take a brief look at it. Basically, Android Basic Nanodegree is divided into 5 parts. First one is user interface. In this section, in this part, we will explore how to use IDE and work with XML to build layouts. Second part of the course is user interface, handling how user input and produce output using coding instructions. Third one of is multi-screen app. In this we will use intent, which is an Android concept, and you will learn later about this to create an second screen or more than 2 screens for the application. In fourth part, we will learn about networking concept and create network request and retrieve data from web servers using JSON parsing techniques. Fifth part is database. This is the core and most important part of any application. But today we will be focusing on the first part, which is user interface. Before we begin, let's see what are the requirements for Android development. In order to develop an Android app, we need only Android Studio IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. However, there is another tool which is required, as you can see, that is Java. But that is only required if you are required in case you are using Windows system, especially the 30-bit version of the system. However, on the other platforms such as Mac and 64-bit version of Windows will have uh, Java installed along with Android Studio. So you don't need to install Java separately. I will put links to both so that you can download them and install them. In addition, in order to install Android Studio, we have some hardware requirements. That is, we need at least 4 gigabytes RAM. But more is better, always remember that. So I suggest having 8 GB or 16 GB in order to have a smooth experience with the Android Studio. Next, before we jump to the next screen, I have already installed Android Studio on my system, but uh, the process of installation is very easy, and all you need to do is run the setup by double clicking on the setup icon. In case you face any trouble, please feel free to ping me. I would be happy to help you. But do remember that setup will take 30 to 45 minutes, but it can take more if the connection is slow. As you have already seen this slide, we will explore In this session, we will explore user interface of Android Studio. Then we will create first application, and later we will make some changes in our default application, and then at the last we will run that application. So let's begin with starting the Android Studio. I have already installed the software, so as you can see, that is here. I will simply click on this. It will take little bit of time, let's say 30 seconds or something like that, but it can be vary depending on how your system works. First of all, we will be greeted with this screen. Your screen may be different than this, but that is whatever screen you see other than this will be part of setup process, and I believe you have already done with them. If not, feel free to ask me questions later in the session. After the session, now let's make one change in the Android Studio setting, which is located in configuration, then go to preferences, then under the appearance and behavior tab you need to go to system setting and uncheck this reopen last project on startup. This setting ensures that whenever you open your Android Studio, it will be greeted with this screen. If you don't change the setting, you will see that your last project will be opened every time you open Android Studio. So let's go to configuration, preference, then under the appearance and behavior, in that select system setting and uncheck this option for, then click OK to save the setting. Now that you have this screen on your PC, we can start with exploring them. First two options are very important. We will explore one by one later, but today we will be focusing on first and second. Briefly, first setting is responsible for creating a new project, and second one will help you to open the project you have already created. Now let's see, let's click on this button and see how to make our first project. Once you click the button, you will be greeted with a window which has several options, and those are the different type of apps you can create. They are also known as project templates. However, if you like, you can always change them when after you have created application. For the this demonstration, I will be using empty activity, and I suggest you to follow the same. Select this activity and press the next button. Next, we will be greeted with another page in which you have to set few things, which is name, package name, location, and minimum API level. Name is something you want to you want your app to call. For instance, we are calling this application to my, not my, just first app. Now the second option, which is package name, that is something you want to have your app to have different name from other apps on the market. It must be unique to each app, and you should not use com.example or com.example.android because that is reserved by Android demo apps. Now let's move to the third option, which is location. Right now I am storing it under, I am saving the project files under users Nandan Pandya, downloads, and first step. I suggest you to save it somewhere you can find the application folders easily on your computer. Now, this option I have not discussed, but I would like to briefly give you introduction about this. Is Android Studio have two official languages, that is Java and another one is Kotlin, which both are programming language, but we use only Java for this course. Next one is minimum API level, which defines the minimum OS version you want to support your application on. The lower number does make an app to support more devices, but it can also compromise some functionalities. In order to keep balance, I suggest using 18 API level 18, which is Jelly Beans, or also known as 4.3, or API level 19, which is 4.4 KitKat. As you can see, you can select it by here. For now I will be using API 18, which is Android 4.3 Jelly Beans. These two options you can leave it unchecked for now. We will discuss them in later parts of the project. Once you click finish button, you should start. You should see actual Android Studio, which is already opened on my screen, and whatever uh, building process is happening, you can see the process progress in this section in this bottom right corner. It should take a few minutes. If you are building the project for the first time on slower computer, it can take 3 to 5 minutes or less, depends on how your computer works. Let me close this both. There are so many things in the UI, but today we will be focusing on two things, that is this green button which already says run app, meaning this button we will use for when we want we use this button when we want to run our app. And second one is this APP. This contains all the information about our project, especially the layout files and coding portion, which is Java files. In app folder, we need to focus right now is this Java, and another one is this res. Java is responsible for our coding part of the application, and res means resources, which is responsible for having a different resource type, such as layout, our app icons, uh, and so many other things which are responsible for creating layout and application outline. We will discuss them in later part, but for now, for this demo we will be exploring only layout part In order to have this screen, you need to double click on activity underscore main XML file. You will be greeted with this window, and you can see that there is a text which says hello world. For the demo purpose, we will change this text, and we will also change the size, the font size, so that we can read this. For now, we will be using this attributes panel to change the settings for the text. Later, when in the next session, we will explore XML and create layout using them. XML is short form for extensible markup language, and that is responsible for Android layout creation. So to check, let's change the text. To change the text, we simply go to this, click the text, then go to text view properties. If that is not already listed, then go to text, and let's say this is our first app. And to change the text appearance, in order to change the text size, we need to go to text appearance and then select text size. In that, I will select 30 sp, which is short form for. Now, to run our app, we need to press this green button, and we will be greeted with another window in which you can see all your devices and emulators. I have already created one emulator, and I will be using that process here. And once everything is finished, we should see our application on this emulator. It should take 1 to 2 minutes to load, and once again, it depends on how your computer works, meaning how fast your computer is. In my system, it usually takes about 1 to 2 minutes. As you can see that there is no error, and our application is here. There is some mistake I have done, and that is this. Yes, we have our output, and as you can see, this is the final output for our project. Congratulations on making the first step. I cannot wait to see what you create with this knowledge. Now our session is over, but you are free to ask questions if you have any, and all the best.